Chapter 3. The Threshold. The icy wilderness stretched endlessly before them, a stark and unforgiving expanse of jagged ice formations and swirling methane fog. Marcus stumbled behind the hooded man and his two companions, their breaths visible in the freezing air. Each step felt heavier than the last, the adrenaline from their escape beginning to wane, replaced by the biting cold and exhaustion. "Keep moving," the scarred woman urged, her tone sharp but not unkind. "We're not safe yet." Marcus gritted his teeth, clutching the data chip tightly in his gloved hand. He still didn't understand why they had risked so much for him. The chip, they said, contained vital information, but why entrust it to a mechanic with no stake in their rebellion? "Where are we going?" Marcus asked, his voice hoarse from the cold. "A safe house," the hooded man replied curtly. "Not far." Marcus cast a wary glance over his shoulder. In the distance, the faint glow of the Dominion outpost was still visible. He imagined the chaos inside, the alarms blaring, soldiers scrambling to respond to the insurgents' attack. It wouldn't be long before they sent patrols after them. "How far is not far?" Marcus pressed, his breath coming in short gasps. The woman shot him a glare. "Do you want to stop here and find out?" Marcus fell silent, focusing instead on keeping up. His legs burned, his lungs ached, but he pushed forward, spurred by the fear of capture. After what felt like an eternity, they reached a narrow crevasse hidden between two towering ice cliffs. The hooded man led them through, the path winding and treacherous. Marcus slipped more than once, his boots struggling to find purchase on the slick surface. At the end of the crevasse, a small, concealed hatch came into view, its edges rimed with frost. The hooded man tapped a sequence into a hidden panel, and the hatch hissed open, revealing a dimly lit tunnel leading underground. "Inside," he said, motioning for Marcus to follow. They descended into the tunnel, the temperature rising slightly as the hatch sealed shut behind them. The walls were rough and unpolished, a stark contrast to the sterile mechanical corridors of the Dominion outpost. Marcus could hear the faint hum of a generator somewhere below, and the air smelled faintly of oil and damp stone. The group emerged into a small makeshift base. The room was cluttered with equipment, monitors displaying flickering feeds, maps spread across tables, and crates stacked haphazardly along the walls. A handful of people moved about, their expressions tense but purposeful. They paused to glance at Marcus, their eyes filled with a mixture of curiosity and suspicion. "Who's this?" a burly man demanded, stepping forward. His thick arms were crossed over his chest, and his gaze settled on Marcus like a weight. "Marcus Vex," the hooded man replied. "He's with us now." The burly man's eyes narrowed. "You risked the mission for him?" "He's not just him," the woman interjected, her tone sharp. "He has the chip." The man's gaze shifted to the data chip in Marcus's hand, his expression softening slightly. "That's what we hit the outpost for?" The hooded man nodded. "And it's vital we secure it." Marcus shifted uncomfortably under their scrutiny. "Can someone explain what's on this thing?" The hooded man hesitated before answering. "Blueprints, security codes, and most importantly, evidence." "Evidence of what?" Marcus asked, his frustration bubbling to the surface. The man met his gaze, his eyes shadowed but intense. "Evidence of what the Dominion has done, what they're planning to do. With this we can expose them. Rally more to our cause." "That's assuming we live long enough to use it," the burly man muttered. The hooded man ignored the remark and turned to Marcus. "You've been dragged into something much bigger than yourself, I know, but we need you to see this through." Marcus opened his mouth to protest, but the woman cut him off. "Look, "We don't have time for second thoughts," she said. "The Dominion will be coming. They won't stop until they have the chip and everyone here is dead." A heavy silence fell over the room. Marcus felt the weight of their words settle on his shoulders. He hadn't asked for this, but now there was no escape. The Dominion wouldn't let him go, and these insurgents were his only chance at survival. "Fine," he said finally, his voice low but steady. "What do you need me to do?" The hooded man's lips twitched into the faintest hint of a smile. "Good. First you rest, then we prepare." Hours later, Marcus sat alone in a corner of the base, nursing a steaming cup of something that vaguely resembled tea. The others were busy, checking supplies, monitoring comm channels, and arguing over strategy. He watched them quietly, feeling out of place among their hardened resolve. "You'll fit in soon enough," a voice said, startling him. It was the scarred woman. She sat down across from him, her sharp gaze softened by a flicker of empathy. "I doubt it," Marcus muttered. "Everyone does at first," she replied, "but once you see what they're capable of, you'll understand why we fight." Marcus hesitated before asking, "Why do you fight?" The woman's expression darkened. "Because I've lost too much not to." She stood, her armor creaking softly. "Get some rest. Tomorrow you'll start learning what it means to fight back." As she walked away, Marcus stared into his cup, the weight of the rebellion's expectations pressing down on him. He had crossed the threshold into a world he didn't understand. There was no going back now.